The doctor's words hit like a sledgehammer. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Paul, but your chances of natural conception are less than 1%. Just like that, my dream of motherhood shattered into a million pieces. I'm Vivienne, and until last Tuesday, I thought I had everything figured out. Stable career as a paralegal, loving husband of 5 years, and a carefully planned future that included a nursery painted in soft yellows. Now? I was sitting in my car outside the fertility clinic, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed. Jeremy's face lit up the screen. "Hey," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just finished at Dr. Marshall's." "How'd it go?" His tone was oddly distant, like he was multitasking. "Not great. Can you come home early? We need to talk about our options." A pause. Too long of a pause. "Sorry, babe. Big client meeting. We'll talk tonight?" I swallowed hard. "The IVF fund? We should probably discuss tonight, okay? Love you." Click. That evening, I waited with takeout getting cold on the counter. 8 p.m. 9 p.m. No Jeremy. His texts grew increasingly vague. "Working late. Don't wait up." I checked our joint savings account, the one we'd been filling for 3 years, designated specifically for fertility treatments. The balance made me smile, even now. $47,132. Not enough for multiple rounds, but a solid start. The next morning, Jeremy was gone before I woke up. Unusual, but I was too drained to question it. I dragged myself to work, buried myself in case files, and tried not to cry when a colleague showed off ultrasound photos. 3 days passed like this. Jeremy barely home, barely speaking. Then Friday morning, I logged into our bank account to pay bills. $47,930 had become $243. My hands shook as I called the bank. "This must be a mistake," I said, reading off the account number. "No mistake, ma'am. The funds were withdrawn via wire transfer on Tuesday afternoon." "By whom?" "The transfer was authorized by Jeremy Shelton." I hung up and immediately called Jeremy. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Where is our IVF money?" No response. I was about to call again when my phone chimed with a message. From Ivy, my younger sister. We hadn't spoken in months, typical for us. Opening it, I froze. A photo. Ivy in a white dress on a Venice balcony, Jeremy in a tux beside her, his arms around her waist, both beaming at the camera. The caption read, "Some dreams do come true. Sorry you couldn't make the wedding, sis." The room spun. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Back at my desk, hands trembling, I pulled up our joint account again. The wire transfer. I needed details. The customer service rep had mentioned Tuesday, the same day as my diagnosis. While I'd been sitting in that sterile doctor's office learning I couldn't have children, my husband had been emptying our savings, planning to marry my sister. My phone kept buzzing. Congratulatory comments popping up under Ivy's post. Heart emojis. "So happy for you both." Even my father, who hadn't spoken to either of us in years, had liked the photo. I clicked through Ivy's profile. More wedding pictures. The venue, I recognized it. The same place Jeremy and I had looked at last year, before deciding to put the money toward IVF instead. A new text from Jeremy. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. We never meant to hurt you." We, my sister and my husband. The fund we'd built together. My future, stolen in an afternoon. I opened my banking app again, this time logging into my personal account, the one Jeremy didn't know about, the one where I kept my bonus money. Hands steady now, I took screenshots of the wire transfer details. Something caught my eye, the authorization signature on the transfer. It looked wrong. I pulled up our mortgage documents with Jeremy's real signature. They didn't match. My paralegal training kicked in. Document fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, if they'd used my information anywhere else. I opened my work laptop and created a new folder. Evidence. The numbness was fading now, replaced by something else, something hot and sharp and clarifying. They thought they'd written the perfect love story, stealing my money, my husband, my future. But they forgot one thing. I specialized in civil litigation, and I knew exactly how to make people pay. My phone buzzed again. Another photo from Ivy. Living our best life. Don't be jealous, sis. It's not a good look. I saved the photo. Evidence folder. Then I called my friend Heidi, the best divorce attorney in the city. Hey, I said when she answered. How would you like to help me destroy two people? Girl, this is way beyond a divorce case, Heidi said, spreading printouts across her desk. This is criminal territory. I'd spent the weekend gathering evidence, bank statements, phone records, every digital breadcrumb my dear sister and husband had left behind. Now, sitting in Heidi's office early Monday morning, the pattern was clear. Look at these vendor payments, I pointed to a series of transactions. They used DocuSign with my signature, but I never authorized these. Heidi leaned forward, frowning. The venue alone was $15,000. How did they think they'd get away with this? Because they thought I'd collapse. I pulled up Ivy's Instagram stories. They're still in Venice, posting about their fairy tale. Meanwhile, I've found 6 different fraudulent charges. You need to file a police report, Heidi said, reaching for her phone. I know a detective who... Not yet. I held up my hand. First, I want to talk to the vendors, see exactly what documents they have. Vivian, trust me. I spent my lunch break at Bella Rosa wedding venue, meeting with Rebecca, the manager. Her smile faded as I showed her the forged DocuSign. This is... concerning, she said, pulling up their files. The booking was under both your names initially. Then Mr. Shelton changed it to just his and... Oh. My sister's? Rebecca nodded. He said you'd agreed to transfer the deposit to them as a wedding gift. We have an email confirmation from your address. An address I never wrote from. I handed her my business card. You'll be hearing from the fraud department soon. I suggest you keep everything. Back at work, I was organizing my evidence folder when Delilah from accounting stopped by my desk. So sorry about Jeremy, she said, not sounding sorry at all. I heard he left because he and my sister stole $50,000 and committed wire fraud? I smiled sweetly. Is that what you heard? Her mouth opened, then closed. No, I continued. Interesting, because I have proof of exactly that. Would you like to see the falsified documents? She scurried away. By afternoon, the office gossip had shifted from poor Jeremy to, did you hear about the theft? My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. Ivy posing in front of the Rialto Bridge. When you marry your soulmate, everything feels magical. I clicked through to the tagged vendors. The florist, the caterer, the photographer. Each one paid with my money, each contract bearing my forged signature. Time to make some calls, I muttered. By evening, 3 vendors had confirmed fraudulent payments. 2 more were reviewing their records. The wedding photographer already offered to send me all the raw files as evidence. My phone rang. Unknown number. Vivian? A man's voice. This is Detective Romero. Your friend Heidi called about potential fraud? I smiled. Perfect timing, Detective. I was just compiling evidence of identity theft. How much detail would you like? Start from the beginning. I did. The wire transfer, the forged signatures, the fake emails, the vendor contracts. And they're still in Italy? He asked. Posting every hour. Would you like their exact location? They're not very subtle with their geotags. He chuckled. Send everything to my email. We'll need statements from the vendors, too. Already arranged. They're not happy about being defrauded. After hanging up, I checked my email. A message from Rebecca at Bella Rosa. Found more documents. They used your credit card info for the final payment. Want the records? My evidence folder was growing by the minute. Another buzz. A text from my father. Ivy says you're threatening her. Stop being jealous and let them be happy. I screenshot it. Added it to the folder. Walking to my car that evening, I overheard Delilah on the phone. No, apparently he actually stole from her, like serious fraud. And her sister. Can you believe? Let them talk. Let the story spread. At home, I opened my laptop one last time, logged into the joint email account Jeremy and I shared, the one he probably forgot about. There it was, confirmation emails for their honeymoon bookings, first-class flights, 5-star hotels, all paid with stolen money. My phone buzzed again. Ivy. Stop calling the vendors. You're embarrassing yourself. I smiled, thinking of the police report being filed, the fraud investigation beginning, the vendors reviewing their records. Oh, sister, I whispered, you have no idea what embarrassment feels like. But you will. I opened my evidence folder and created a new subfolder. Criminal charges. Then I started typing my official statement. They thought they'd written their perfect ending, but I was just getting started. My phone lit up. Heidi. Detective Romero wants to meet tomorrow. Ready to make this official? I texted back one word. Absolutely. Detective Romero spread the photos across his desk. They're not even trying to hide it, he said, pointing to Ivy's latest Instagram post, a selfie with Jeremy at a Venetian cafe, designer shopping bags visible in the background. Why would they? I replied. They think they're untouchable. Well, they thought wrong. He tapped his keyboard. The DA's office is very interested in the wire fraud angle, especially since it crosses state lines. A knock at the door interrupted us. A uniformed officer entered with a stack of papers. The subpoenas just came in from the courthouse. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca at Bella Rosa. You need to see this. She's trying to sell her wedding photos to a bridal magazine. I showed the detective. He shook his head. Evidence keeps piling up. Walking back to my car, another call came in. Unknown number. Vivienne? A deep voice I hadn't heard in years. It's Dad. My steps faltered. What do you want? Ivy called. She's hysterical about you harassing her vendors. This needs to stop. Interesting. I kept my voice level. Did she mention the stolen money? The forged signatures? She said you gave them that money as a wedding gift. Really? Want to see the fraudulent wire transfer documents? Silence. Actually, Dad, while I have you, did you know Ivy's planning to sell Grandpa's estate? The one you put in trust? What? His voice sharpened. She can't. That property is in my name, I know. But she's already contacted realtors, using a power of attorney document with my forged signature. More silence. Then, send me everything. Back at work, Delilah cornered me in the break room. Vivienne, I feel terrible about what I said before. I had no idea. That my sister and husband were criminals? I stirred my coffee. Funny how quick perspectives change. But how are you so calm? I smiled. Who says I'm calm? My phone buzzed again, an email from Jeremy's company HR department responding to my fraud notification. We take these allegations seriously. Mr. Shelton has been suspended pending investigation. Perfect. That evening, Heidi called. Have you seen Ivy's latest post? I hadn't. Opening Instagram, I found it. A long, tearful video. Ivy, mascara running, claiming I was destroying her happiness out of jealousy. The comments were fascinating. Half sympathy, half questions. But did you take her money? Why use her signature? Isn't that fraud? Ivy was responding frantically, digging herself deeper with each reply. Then a new notification. A direct message from my father. Just spoke to the family lawyer. The trust documents are solid. She can't touch the estate. I forwarded the message to Detective Romero, adding it to the evidence pile. My doorbell rang. A courier with an envelope. Inside, medical records. My fertility clinic documents with unauthorized access logs. Someone had viewed them the day before my diagnosis. Someone with the username, IVP28. My hands shook as I called the clinic. Yes, the administrator confirmed. Someone accessed your files using your patient portal. We've launched an internal investigation. Another piece of the puzzle. They hadn't just stolen my money, they'd violated my medical privacy. My phone lit up. A text from Ivy. Stop this witch hunt or I'll tell everyone why Jeremy really left. I screenshot it. Evidence folder. Then I typed back. You mean how you accessed my medical records illegally? Already documented with the police? No response. But 10 minutes later, Ivy went live on Instagram again. This time, she was angry, defensive. My sister's just bitter because she can't have children. Jeremy chose me because I can give him a family. The comments exploded. Not in her favor. She deleted the video within minutes, but not before I'd recorded it. My father called again. I've seen enough. You have my support. And Vivian. I'm sorry. About everything. Little late, Dad. I know, but I'm here now. I ended the call and opened my laptop. Time to compile everything for tomorrow's meeting with the DA. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Rebecca. You should know. They're planning a big welcome home party next week. Rented our venue again. I sat back, thinking. A party. Where everyone would be gathered. Where they'd expect to celebrate their perfect crime. Thanks for letting me know, I replied. Then I called Heidi. Remember how we discussed timing the subpoenas? I think I know exactly when to serve them. The party? She caught on immediately. That's deliciously evil. No, I corrected her. That's justice. I opened my calendar and marked the date. 1 week, 7 days until their fairy tale crashed into reality. My phone lit up again. Another tearful post from Ivy. I didn't bother reading it. Let her cry. Let her post. Let her think she's winning. The clock was ticking. The welcome home party was in full swing when I pulled into Bella Rosa's parking lot. Through the venue's windows, I could see the banner. Welcome home, lovebirds. Fairy lights twinkled. Champagne flowed. Right on schedule, Heidi said from the passenger seat. Detective Romero just texted. His team's in position. I checked my watch. 8:15 p.m. Perfect. The vendors. All here, very eager to discuss their fraudulent contracts. Inside, the party was exactly what you'd expect. Ivy holding court in a designer dress, Jeremy working the room with his practiced charm. Neither noticed me slipping in through the side door. Oh my God, Delilah whispered to her date, loud enough for me to hear. She actually came. I positioned myself near the bar, watching, waiting. 8:30 p.m. Right on cue, Rebecca approached the happy couple. Mr. Shelton, there seems to be an issue with the payment. Jeremy's smile flickered. Not now. Actually, yes now. She held up a tablet. These credit card charges? They're being disputed as fraudulent. Heads turned, whispers started. There must be a mistake. Ivy laughed nervously. Jeremy, handle this. Actually, I stepped forward. He can't. Those charges were made with my stolen card information. The room went silent. Vivian, Jeremy's voice hardened. You're not welcome here. Funny, that's what the bank said about your wire transfers. The main doors opened. Detective Romero entered with 2 officers. Jeremy Shelton, Ivy Paul, we have some documents for you. Ivy's face went white. You wouldn't dare. Oh, but I would. I nodded to the detective. Just like you dared to access my medical records, forge my signatures, steal my money. She's lying. Ivy turned to the crowd. She's just jealous because what? I cut in. Because you committed fraud? Identity theft? Would you like to see the evidence? The florist stepped forward. Is that why my payment was flagged? Then the photographer. And my contract had unauthorized signatures? The caterer. The credit card company called about disputed charges? Enough, Jeremy shouted. This is ridiculous. Vivian's clearly unstable after her diagnosis. Interesting you mention that, Heidi spoke up. Since you illegally accessed her medical records before emptying her accounts. Camera flashes went off. A woman I recognized from the local wedding blog was documenting everything. "You can't prove anything," Ivy said, but her voice shook. "Actually," Detective Romero held up a thick envelope, "these subpoenas say otherwise." Jeremy grabbed Ivy's arm. "We're leaving." "That would be unwise," an officer blocked their path. "We have some questions about wire fraud." The party dissolved into chaos. Guests whispered and pointed. Phones recorded everything. Ivy's mascara ran as she tried to explain to horrified friends. "But the money was a gift," she insisted. "Show them the gift documentation," I challenged. "Oh wait, you can't, because it doesn't exist." Jeremy tried a different approach. "Vivian, please, we can work this out." "Like you worked out forging my signature? Or stealing my fertility fund?" More gasps from the crowd. "Is it true?" someone asked. "They stole her IVF money." "And used it for their wedding," Heidi confirmed loudly. "After accessing her confidential medical records." Ivy snapped. "You're just bitter because you can't have children." The room went dead silent. "No," I said quietly. "I'm bitter because my sister and husband betrayed me. But mostly, I'm done watching you profit from fraud." Detective Romero stepped forward. "Mr. Shelton, Ms. Paul, we need you to come with us." "You can't do this," Ivy sobbed. "It's our welcome home party. Consider it your goodbye party instead." As the officers led them out, the wedding blogger approached me. "Would you like to tell your side of the story?" I smiled. "Actually, yes. I have quite a few documents you might find interesting." My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Just saw Ivy's live stream meltdown. You okay?" "Perfect," I typed back. "Justice is being served." The venue emptied quickly, guests fleeing the scandal. Only Heidi remained, grinning. "That," she said, "was better than any court drama I've ever seen." I watched the last police car pull away, Ivy's tearful face visible in the window. The best part? I picked up an abandoned champagne glass. "This is just the beginning. Wait until the DA sees everything else we've uncovered." "To justice," Heidi clinked her glass against mine. "To consequences," I corrected. My phone lit up with notifications. Ivy's social media followers were already reacting to the party drama, her perfectly curated image crumbling in real time. "Ready to go?" Heidi asked. I took one last look at the welcome home banner, now hanging crooked and forgotten. "Actually," I smiled, "I think I'm just getting started." The wedding blog article went viral overnight. By morning, Ivy's carefully curated social media empire was imploding. Her sponsored posts disappeared one by one as brands quietly cut ties. "Have you seen this?" Heidi forwarded me a link. Jeremy's company had issued a public statement. "In light of serious allegations, we've suspended all duties pending investigation." My phone rang. "Ivy." "You've ruined everything!" she screamed before I could speak. "My followers are unfollowing me. My brand deals." "Funny how fraud allegations affect influencer contracts," I cut in. "Almost like actions have consequences." "I'm your sister." "You were my sister. Now you're just another person who committed identity theft." A notification popped up. Ivy had started another Instagram Live. I switched to speakerphone and recorded. "You don't understand," she was crying now. "Jeremy said he'd handle the money part. I just wanted—" "What? My husband, my savings, my life." "You couldn't even give him children," she spat. "I can. I'm all ready." She stopped abruptly. My hand tightened on the phone. "You're pregnant." Silence. "How long?" 6 weeks, she whispered. "I found out in Venice." I ended the call, opened my laptop, added this new information to the evidence file. My office door opened. Delilah stood there, looking uncomfortable. Your father's here." Dad looked older than I remembered, standing awkwardly by my desk. "We need to talk about Ivy." "Now you want to talk? After years of silence?" "I know I wasn't there." He sat heavily. After your mother left. Don't. Vivian, please. Ivy. She always blamed herself for the divorce. Said if she hadn't been born. So she punished me instead? She was jealous. You had everything together. The career, the marriage. And now she has my husband and my money. I pulled up the evidence folder. Want to see how they did it? He reviewed the documents silently. Forged signatures, fraudulent transfers, the accessed medical records. Jesus, he muttered. And now she's pregnant? You heard? Her live stream. Half the internet heard. He rubbed his face. The estate she tried to sell? I never told her it was in your name. Your grandfather knew. He knew she was unstable. My phone buzzed. A message from Jeremy. We need to talk about the baby. Delete. Another notification. Ivy posting again. A tearful video confession. Yes, I knew about the money, she admitted on screen. Jeremy said Vivian owed him, that she'd frozen him out after the fertility news. I just wanted my happy ending. Save that, Heidi texted. Her admission of knowledge makes this even better for the DA. Dad watched the video, shaking his head. She's unraveling. Good. Vivian, don't ask me to forgive her. I'm not. He stood. I'm asking you to let me help make this right. My phone rang again. Detective Romero. The DA's moving forward, he said. But there's more. We found other fraudulent documents. Insurance claims, loan applications. Send everything, I replied. After he hung up, I checked social media again. Ivy's follower count was plummeting. Comments flooded her posts. Thief! How could you do that to your sister? Fraud. Jeremy's professional LinkedIn was gone. His company bio deleted. A new email arrived from Rebecca. They're trying to dispute the venue charges, called their credit card company claiming identity theft. Ironic, right? I forwarded it to Heidi. More evidence. Dad was still there, watching me. What happens now? Now? I pulled up the DA's filing documents. They face the music, criminal charges, civil lawsuits, public humiliation. And the baby? I paused. That's not my problem. My phone lit up. Ivy again. Please, I'm sorry, I never meant. Block. Another notification. The wedding blog had posted a follow-up article. Fairy tale wedding revealed as fraudulent nightmare. Dad read it over my shoulder. She always wanted what you had. And now she has nothing. He touched my shoulder briefly. Neither do you. No, I corrected him. I have something better. The truth. My phone buzzed one last time. Heidi. DA wants to meet tomorrow. Ready to finish this? I looked at my evidence folder. At Ivy's tearful confessions. At Jeremy's desperate messages. Yes, I typed back. It's time. Dad headed for the door, then turned. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For fighting back. I didn't answer. Just watched him leave as another notification lit up my screen. Ivy's latest post. The full story. My side. Let her talk. Let her cry. Let her try to explain. The truth was already out there, spreading like wildfire, and it was only going to get hotter. The DA's office was cold and formal, exactly how I wanted this moment to feel. Jeremy sat across the conference table, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Ivy wasn't here. Her morning sickness had become a convenient excuse to avoid difficult meetings. Let's review the charges, the DA began, spreading documents across the table. Wire fraud, identity theft, multiple counts of document forgery. Jeremy's lawyer leaned forward. My client is willing to discuss a plea arrangement. I'm sure he is, Heidi replied coolly, especially after what we found in the insurance files. Jeremy's head snapped up. Oh? I smiled. Did you think we wouldn't find those too? The DA pulled out another folder. Mr. Shelton has been filing false insurance claims using Mrs. Paul's information for the past 2 years. The insurance company is very interested in discussing this. Jeremy's face went pale. How many policies was it? I asked innocently. 4? 5? 6, Detective Romero corrected, entering the room, including a life insurance policy taken out 3 months ago. The lawyer stopped whispering. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Ivy's here at the venue, demanding a refund. Should I call security? Let her stay, I typed back. The officers will want to speak with her anyway. The DA continued listing charges. Each one made Jeremy sink lower in his chair. His perfect con was unraveling thread by thread. We're prepared to offer a deal, his lawyer tried again. No deals, I cut in. Full prosecution. Vivian, please. Jeremy spoke for the first time. Think about the baby. Like you thought about my fertility fund? He flinched. My phone lit up again. Dad. Ivy's making scenes all over town, says she's being persecuted. The trust fund, the DA continued, the one Ms. Paul attempted to access fraudulently, we've frozen all attempts to transfer or sell those assets. Jeremy's lawyer was scribbling frantically now. And the medical records breach, Heidi added. The fertility clinic is pursuing separate charges. This is insane, Jeremy burst out. It was just money. We were going to pay it back. With what? I asked. Your fraudulent insurance claims? The door opened. Another detective entered with a new stack of files. Sir, he addressed Romero, we found more policies, different companies, same fraud pattern. Jeremy's lawyer stopped writing. My phone buzzed continuously now. Messages poured in. Rebecca. Ivy's crying to anyone who'll listen about being set up. Dad. She tried to access the estate again. Lawyers blocked it. Heidi. Insurance investigators want to meet tomorrow. The DA stood. Mr. Shelton, given the extent of the fraud, we're revoking your bail privileges. What? No, you can't. 2 officers entered. Jeremy Shelton, you're under arrest for multiple counts of insurance fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. As they led him out, he looked back at me. I never meant for this to happen. Yes, you did, I replied. You just meant to get away with it. My phone rang. Ivy. They're arresting Jeremy, she screamed. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Your husband's insurance fraud did this. Insurance what? Oh, I said sweetly. He didn't tell you about that part? Check your email. I sent you copies. She hung up. The DA gathered his files. We'll proceed with Ms. Paul's charges next week, though with her condition, no special treatment, I said firmly. She made her choices. Outside the office, Heidi hugged me. How does it feel? Like justice. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Local insurance broker arrested in major fraud investigation. Then another notification. Ivy had gone live again, but this time she was raging at Jeremy. You did what with insurance policies? While I'm carrying your child? Send that to the DA, Heidi advised. Her public meltdown helps our case. A text from Dad. Ivy's threatening to leave town. She can't, I replied. Court orders, no travel. I watched another notification pop up. Jeremy's company announcing his termination, his insurance license revoked, his assets frozen. Ready for phase 2? Heidi asked. I nodded. Civil suits, every vendor, every fraudulent charge. They'll be paying this back for decades. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Detective Romero. Insurance Fraud Task Force wants to interview you tomorrow. They're building a major case. I smiled, thinking of all those hidden policies. Jeremy's secret fraud empire, crumbling under investigation. Tell them I'll bring everything I've found, I replied. Heidi checked her watch. The news will break nationally by morning. Good. I gathered my files. Let everyone see exactly who they really are. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's watching that truth destroy everything they built with lies. The mediation room felt smaller than I expected. Ivy sat across the table, her designer clothes replaced by a plain maternity dress. No makeup, no filters, no Instagram-perfect facade. This meeting is required by the court, the mediator explained. Before we proceed with criminal charges, we're offering one chance to discuss restitution. Ivy wouldn't look at me. 3 months of public humiliation had stripped away her confidence. Jeremy's insurance fraud scandal had destroyed any sympathy she might have gotten. "Where's Jeremy?" I asked, though I knew. "Still in custody," her lawyer answered. "The insurance companies found 13 more fraudulent policies." Ivy flinched. "Let's address the immediate matters," the mediator continued. "The stolen funds, forged documents, and medical privacy breach." "I didn't know about the insurance stuff," Ivy burst out. "I swear, Vivienne, he never told me." "Like you never told me you were accessing my medical records?" She looked down at her swollen belly. 6 months pregnant now. "Why?" I asked. "Just why?" "Because you had everything." She finally met my eyes. The perfect job, the perfect husband, the perfect plan. Even when you couldn't have kids, you still had Jeremy's love. And I was just the screw-up sister. "So you stole my life?" "I stole your husband," she corrected. "The money was his idea." My lawyer opened a folder. "We have evidence suggesting otherwise. Your text messages planning the wire transfer?" Ivy's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "The forged signatures on vendor contracts?" I continued. "That was your handwriting, Ivy. I grew up with it." "I was desperate," tears started. "Right on schedule. Jeremy said we deserved—" "Save the performance," I cut in. "Your crying videos don't work anymore." The mediator cleared his throat. "Ms. Paul, your sister's legal team has prepared a restitution proposal." Ivy's lawyer reviewed the document. His face tightened. "This would bankrupt her." "Fraud usually does," my lawyer replied. "I'm having a baby," Ivy protested. "I can't pay this." "Should have thought about that before stealing $50,000. She tried another angle. "Dad said he'd help." "Dad can't access the trust fund either," I reminded her. "Remember? The one you tried to sell illegally?" More tears. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Destroying my life?" "No." I leaned forward. "I'm enjoying justice. I'm your sister." "You were my sister," I corrected. "Then you became a thief who accessed my private medical records to steal my husband." The mediator intervened. "Perhaps we should take a break." "No." I pulled out my phone, pulled up her Instagram post from that day in Venice. "Some dreams do come true," I read. "Remember sending that? Right after stealing my fertility fund?" She looked away. "You didn't just take my money, Ivy. You took my trust, my future, my chance at—" I stopped, breathed. "You took everything and turned it into a social media spectacle." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "No, you're sorry you got caught." Her lawyer tried again. "Given her condition, perhaps a payment plan." "No deals." I stood up. "Full restitution, full prosecution. She can explain to her baby why mommy has a fraud conviction." "Vivienne, please." Ivy grabbed my arm. "Did you ever love me at all?" I looked at her hand, at her chipped nail polish, at the sister I'd grown up with, fought with, loved despite everything. "Yes," I said quietly. "Enough to never forgive you." I pulled free and walked to the door. "The DA's office will be in touch about court dates," my lawyer added. "I suggest you cooperate fully." In the hallway, Heidi waited. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected. Tears, excuses, pregnancy card?" My phone buzzed. A news alert. "Insurance fraud investigation expands. Multiple states involved." Then a text from Dad. "Ivy called. Said you're being cruel." "Send him the restitution proposal," I told Heidi. "Let him see exactly what his precious baby girl stole." Another buzz. Detective Romero. "Jeremy's talking, naming names. Your sister might want to reconsider that plea deal." I smiled. "Forward that to her lawyer." Heidi touched my arm. "You okay?" I watched through the window as Ivy sobbed to her attorney. The mediator packing up files. the last act of a drama she'd scripted but couldn't control. "You know what?" I said. "I actually am." My phone lit up one final time. A message from Rebecca at the venue. "You should see this. Someone made a documentary about wedding fraud. They want to interview you." "Perfect," I replied. Because some stories deserve to be told, especially the ones that end with justice instead of fairy tales. The documentary premiered at a small local theater. Love, lies, and larceny, a modern wedding scandal filled every seat. I watched from the back as my story unfolded on screen, alongside other victims of wedding fraud. "You didn't have to come," Heidi whispered beside me. "Yes, I did." My phone buzzed, a text from Detective Romero. "Jeremy took the plea deal. 15 years. Another message followed. "Insurance companies found 37 fraudulent policies total. He'll never work in finance again." On screen, Rebecca from Bella Rosa described discovering the forged documents. The caterer detailed the stolen payments, each vendor adding another piece to the puzzle of betrayal. Then my interview played. I watched myself describe the fertility diagnosis, the stolen fund, the honeymoon photo that started it all. "Some dreams do come true," I quoted Ivy's caption. "That's what my sister wrote after stealing my life savings." The audience murmured. My phone lit up again. "Dad. Ivy's moving back in with your mother. The baby's due next week." Delete. The documentary ended with Jeremy's arrest footage and Ivy's social media meltdown. The lights came up. The director invited me to the stage. "Questions?" she asked the audience. Hands shot up. "How did you stay so focused during everything?" I gripped the microphone. "Because justice matters more than revenge." "Did you ever consider forgiveness?" "Some things aren't meant to be forgiven. Some lessons need to be learned the hard way." More questions, more answers. Then, "What are you doing with the restitution money?" I smiled. "Starting a fund for other women facing fertility challenges, because sometimes the best response to cruelty is kindness to strangers." Afterward, in the lobby, a woman approached me. "I read your story online. It helped me leave my cheating husband before he could steal my savings." Then another, "Your evidence-gathering techniques helped me prove insurance fraud at my company." And another, "I was afraid to stand up to my sister's theft. You showed me how." My phone buzzed. A message from Rebecca. "You should see this. Ivy's baby shower registry is full of comments about the fraud case." Delete. "Ready?" Heidi appeared with our coats. Outside, a reporter waited. "Any comment on your sister's upcoming birth?" "No comment, but I have something better. Proof of 3 more fraudulent insurance policies we discovered yesterday." My phone lit up. The documentary was trending online. Comments poured in. Finally, a story about consequences. This is what real strength looks like. Justice served perfectly. A text from Dad. "Your mother wants to arrange a meeting." "No," I typed back. "Some bridges stay burned." Heidi linked her arm through mine. "The Fertility Support Fund launches next week. 10 applications already." Good. I checked my notifications. The documentary hashtag was spreading. More stories emerging. More women speaking up. "Ms. Paul," another reporter. "Any response to your sister's public apology?" "Actions speak louder than Instagram posts," I replied. My phone buzzed again. An email from the fertility clinic. "Your story inspired us. We're offering discounted IVF to fraud victims." I forwarded it to Heidi. "Add this to the resource list." Walking to the car, I saw my reflection in a store window. Still standing, still strong, still me. "You know what the best revenge is?" Heidi asked. "Living well?" "No." She grinned. "Making sure their fairy tale becomes everyone else's warning story." My phone lit up one last time. A message from Detective Romero. "Jeremy's singing like a bird. More arrests coming. You started something bigger than you know." I smiled, thinking of all the evidence folders, all the paper trails, all the truth finally exposed. Ready to go home? Heidi asked. Almost. I pulled up my notes app, started typing. To everyone who asked why I fought so hard, here's your answer. Some people write fairy tales, others expose them. This is a story about justice, not revenge. About standing up, not breaking down. About truth, not happy endings. They planned a perfect love story with stolen pages. I rewrote the ending. And this time, justice was the happily ever after. Post. Now I'm ready, I said. Because sometimes the best endings aren't about forgiveness or revenge. They're about showing others how to fight back, how to stand up, how to rewrite their own endings, one truth at a time.
Your dog finally got what it deserved, Janet said over the phone, her voice full of satisfaction. Now my cats can visit without that monster bothering them. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, speeding to the emergency vet. My heart pounded as I thought of Max, my 3-year-old German Shepherd. He had collapsed after breakfast, the same meal my mother-in-law, Janet, had prepared that morning. "What'd you do to Max?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. "Oh, just a little something to calm him down," she said casually. "They'll be fine. Maybe next time you'll train your dog properly." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Janet had always disliked Max, but this was beyond anything I imagined. Max wasn't just a pet. He had been my comfort after my husband, Mike, and I lost our baby. But Janet never understood. She hated Max, saying he was a poor substitute for the grandchild she would never have. As I reached the clinic, his staff rushed out with a gurney. "Mrs. Mitchell," Dr. Santos greeted me. "We need to run tests right away. Do you know what happened?" I swallowed hard, explaining how Max had collapsed and how Janet had just called, bragging about putting something in his food. Dr. Santos's face darkened. "We need to document everything. This is a crime." My phone buzzed with messages from Janet. "Dogs are replaceable. Maybe now you can focus on giving me real grandchildren. Mike never wanted that much anyway." I forwarded the messages to the vet, then called Mike. My hands were shaking. "Anna? What's wrong?" he asked. "Your mother poisoned Max," I said. She just admitted it. Silence. Then finally, that's impossible." "Check your messages." I recorded her call. He exhaled sharply. "I'm on my way." Dr. Santos returned with x-rays. "We found small capsules in Max's stomach. We're sending them to the lab." This was done on purpose. "Will he survive?" I asked, my voice breaking. "We caught it early, thanks to you." "But Anna," she leaned in, "this isn't just about Max. People who do this often escalate. You need to be careful." Mike arrived, his face pale as he looked at the evidence. "I never thought. I knew Mom didn't like Max, but this." "She didn't just dislike him, Mike," I said, pulling away from his touch. "She tried to kill him. She enjoys hurting people." My phone buzzed again. Another text from Janet. "A dog isn't a child, Anna. Time to grow up." I showed it to Mike. His expression hardened. "The police will want to talk to her," I said. He nodded. "Good. It's time someone stopped her." Janet thought she could get away with it, but she had no idea this was just the beginning. The next few days passed in a blur of police reports, veterinary updates, and increasingly unhinged messages from Janet. Mike had moved us into a hotel temporarily, worried his mother might try something else while Max recovered at the animal hospital. "The lab results are back," Dr. Santos said during our morning update call. "We found a combination of prescription medications in those capsules. Some were pet medications, but others," she paused significantly, "others were human prescription drugs. Very specific ones." I sat up straighter. "What does that mean?" "It means your mother-in-law didn't just use random poison. These were carefully selected medications, some of which require special authorization to obtain. We've shared the findings with the police, and they're particularly interested in how she accessed these drugs." The implications hit me like a truck. Janet worked as a receptionist at a medical clinic. Had she been stealing medications? The thought made me sick. Mike was meeting with a detective when I arrived at the animal hospital to visit Max. My normally energetic shepherd was still weak, but his tail wagged when he saw me. Dr. Santos had said he was lucky. If I hadn't noticed his symptoms so quickly, the outcome could have been devastating. Mrs. Mitchell, Detective Parker greeted me, his notebook open. We've made some interesting discoveries. Your mother-in-law's employer has been very cooperative. Mike looked up, his face grim. They've been missing medications for months, Anna. Small amounts, nothing obvious. But when they checked the logs against the lab results, Janet had access to everything found in Max's system. Detective Parker confirmed. We've obtained security footage showing her accessing the medication storage area outside of normal business hours. I stroked Max's head, feeling him lean into my touch. So this wasn't just about hurting Max. No, the detective replied. This appears to be part of a larger pattern. We found evidence of other potential incidents. Your mother-in-law may have been experimenting with these medications for some time. Mike buried his face in his hands. I can't believe this. All those times she offered to help with Max's anxiety, saying she had special supplements. You didn't know, I said softly, though part of me wanted to scream. I told you so. I'd always refused Janet's offers to treat Max, trusting my instincts when she seemed too eager to medicate him. Detective Parker cleared his throat. We'll need to investigate other possible victims. Were there any other pets in the family who experienced unexpected health issues? Mike's head snapped up. My sister's cat died 6 months ago. Mom said she found it having seizures and tried to help, but his voice trailed off as the implications sank in. We'll need to speak with your sister, the detective said, making notes, and anyone else who might have had pets become ill after contact with your mother. Just then, my phone buzzed with a new message from Janet. I hear Max survived. Pity. But there are always accidents waiting to happen. Better watch him carefully. I wordlessly showed the message to Detective Parker, who immediately began typing on his phone. That's a direct threat. We're bringing her in for questioning now. As if on cue, we heard a commotion in the clinic's reception area. Janet's voice carried clearly. I'm here to check on my granddog. How dare you try to keep me away? Mike moved to block the door while Detective Parker stepped out. I held Max close, feeling him tremble as Janet's voice grew louder. This is ridiculous. I was trying to help. That dog is a menace. He needed to be dealt with. Anna's turned him against me, just like she turned Mike against me. The detective's voice was calm but firm. Mrs. Harrison, you're under arrest for animal cruelty, theft of prescription medications, and making criminal threats. You have the right to remain silent. This is absurd, Mike. Tell them. Tell them how that dog ruined everything. Tell them how Anna chose a dog over giving me grandchildren. Mike stepped into the hallway, his voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. The only thing ruining this family is you, Mom. And it stops now. I heard Janet's outraged scream, followed by the sound of handcuffs clicking into place. Detective Parker's partner led her away, still shouting accusations and threats. Dr. Santos entered a few minutes later, looking shaken but determined. Well, that was dramatic. But I have good news. Max's latest tests show significant improvement. We should be able to send him home in a few days, with some precautions, of course. Mike returned to the room, his face a mix of relief and grief. Anna, I don't know what to say. All these years, I didn't want to see what was right in front of me. Mom wasn't just difficult or overprotective. She was dangerous. I reached for his hand, and this time I didn't pull away when he took it. We're going to need to make some changes, I said quietly. Real changes, not just temporary ones. He nodded, reaching out to pat Max with his free hand. I know, and I'm ready. No more excuses, no more trying to keep the peace. Mom needs help, professional help, and we need to protect our family. I looked at our dog, still weak but fighting to recover, and thought about how close we'd come to losing him. Janet's action hadn't just threatened Max. They'd revealed a darkness that had been poisoning our family for years. But as I watched Mike gently comfort our dog, I realized something had shifted. Sometimes it takes a crisis to open our eyes to the truth. Janet's attempt to destroy what she saw as a threat had instead destroyed her own power over our family. The detective's words lingered in my mind. This wasn't over yet. They were investigating other potential victims, and Janet's threats suggested she wasn't done. But for the first time in years, I felt like we were finally facing the problem together instead of letting it tear us apart. The months following Janet's arrest brought changes I never expected. The investigation uncovered a disturbing pattern. 3 other pets in the neighborhood had died under suspicious circumstances, all after Janet had helped watch them. Mike's sister Amy was devastated to learn her cat's death wasn't an accident, but her testimony proved crucial in building the case against their mother. The DA is offering a plea deal, Detective Parker informed us during a follow-up meeting. Given the evidence and the multiple victims, Janet's looking at serious charges. The clinic is also pressing charges for theft of controlled substances. Max had made a full recovery, though he remained wary of strangers near his food. We'd installed security cameras around the house and implemented strict protocols about who could access our home. The experience had left its mark on all of us. She's still claiming it was all for the family's good, Mike said, shaking his head as we left the detective's office. Says she was trying to fix our family by removing the distractions. I watched as he knelt to greet Max, who was waiting in our car. The bond between them had grown stronger through this ordeal. Mike had finally seen his mother's true nature, and with that recognition came a determination to protect what really mattered. The court date arrived on a crisp autumn morning. Janet sat at the defendant's table, looking smaller somehow without her usual air of superiority. When she turned to look at us, I expected to see anger or blame in her eyes. Instead, I saw something that chilled me more: calculation. Before the court accepts this plea, the judge began. Does the defendant wish to make a statement? Janet stood, her hands clasped demurely in front of her. I only wanted what was best for my family, she said, her voice trembling perfectly. My son and daughter-in-law were so focused on that dog, treating it like a child. I thought if the dog wasn't around. You thought poisoning multiple animals would somehow fix your family? The judge interrupted, his tone sharp. The court has evidence of at least 4 victims, Mrs. Harrison. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a calculated pattern of cruelty. The sentence came down harder than we expected. 3 years in prison, mandatory psychiatric evaluation, and a lifetime ban on working in medical facilities or owning pets. Janet's practiced composure finally cracked. This is your fault, she screamed as they led her away. If you'd just given me grandchildren instead of wasting time with that stupid dog. Mike stood up, his voice carrying clearly across the courtroom. No, Mom, this is your fault. And until you understand that, we can't have you in our lives. Outside the courthouse, Amy approached us with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you about Mom sooner, she told me, hugging me tight. Thank you for stopping her before she could hurt anyone else. Life gradually settled into a new normal. We moved to a house with a large fenced yard where Max could play safely. Mike started therapy to process his complicated feelings about his mother. Slowly, we began to heal. One evening, as we watched Max chasing fireflies in the backyard, Mike turned to me with a serious expression. You know what I realized? He said softly. Mom was wrong about everything. Max didn't prevent us from having a family. He helped us create one. He showed us what unconditional love really looks like. I leaned against him, thinking about how far we'd come. He also showed us how to recognize when someone doesn't have our best interests at heart, I added. Janet still writes sometimes, always with the same manipulative undertones. Her latest letter claimed she's found God in prison and wants to reconcile. We file each letter with our lawyer, maintaining the paper trail while keeping our distance. Max continues to thrive, his protective instincts now channeled into gentle care of our newest family member, a baby girl who arrived last spring. He keeps a watchful eye on her, just as he did for us when we needed him most. The security cameras remain, and we're still careful about who we trust with our family's care. Some might call it paranoid, but we learned the hard way that sometimes the biggest threats come from those who claim to love us most. Yesterday, I found Mike in the nursery, watching as Max lay protectively by the baby's crib. You know, he said quietly, I used to think Mom was right about what a family should look like. But now I understand. Family isn't about meeting someone else's expectations. It's about protecting the ones you love, whether they walk on 2 legs or 4. Looking at them, my husband, our dog who survived poisoning to become a guardian, and our daughter sleeping peacefully, I knew he was right. Janet had tried to destroy what she couldn't control, but instead she'd only made us stronger. Our family wasn't what she wanted, but it was exactly what we needed. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead us to our best decisions. Janet's attempt to fix our family had failed, but in its place, we'd built something genuine, something strong. And this time, we knew how to protect it. What do you mean you found cameras? My hands shook as I held my phone, staring at the tiny black device my best friend Emily had just pulled from behind my curtains. My stomach turned. There's more, Emily said angrily. I found 3 so far. 1 in the kitchen, 1 by the front door, and now this one. They're hidden well. I only noticed them while cleaning the windows. My name is Anna, and I never imagined I'd find secret cameras in my own home. But I knew exactly who put them there. Margaret, my mother-in-law. She had been trying to control my life from the moment I married her son, David. Found another one, Emily called. It's pointing at your bedroom door. I felt sick. 4 cameras. 4 different angles of my private life. My hands moved to grab one, but Emily stopped me. Don't touch them yet, she warned. We need proof first. She was right. Emily wasn't just my best friend, she was a detective. This wasn't just creepy, it was illegal. Margaret had always been overbearing, but this was worse. I thought back to her last visit when she insisted on helping while David was away. She had probably planted the cameras then. I can't believe she'd do this, I whispered, but deep down, I could. Margaret had been getting worse. She would show up uninvited, criticize my housekeeping, and spread lies about me to David and his family. David always made excuses for her. That's just how Mom is, he'd say. But this wasn't just being overprotective. This was an invasion of my life. Emily pulled out her phone, inspecting the cameras. These are high-tech, wireless, motion-activated. Someone set these up professionally. Just then, my phone buzzed. Margaret. Just checking in, dear. How are you holding up alone? I worry about you. I nearly laughed. She wasn't worried, she was watching me. Then a terrifying thought hit me. Emily, I said slowly, if these cameras are live. Emily's eyes lit up. Then we can use them. Act normal, don't let her know we found them. But let's give her something to watch. I took a deep breath. What do you have in mind? First, we gather evidence. Then, we catch her spying. And after that, Emily smirked. We make sure she regrets it. I texted Margaret back. I'm fine, just having tea with a friend. Thanks for checking in. Seconds later, she replied, Oh, you have company? Who? I smiled. She was trying to figure out who was in the house. I stepped into the living room where I knew a camera was hidden, while Emily stayed out of sight. That night, after Emily left, I sat alone, staring at the camera. I wanted to rip them all down, but Emily was right. We needed proof. And Margaret needed to be caught. I called David. Hey, how's the trip? Boring. Mom called, said she's worried about you. Of course she did. I'm fine, I said. Actually, I was thinking about working on that family photo album she wanted. David hesitated. That's nice. She'll love that. I smiled, knowing Margaret was watching. Yes, I think it's time to go through everything. All the pictures, all the memories. After hanging up, I grabbed our wedding album and sat where the camera had a clear view. I slowly laid out photos, Margaret glaring at our engagement party, her trying to wear white to my wedding, her pushing my family away in group pictures. My phone buzzed. Margaret again. Don't stay up too late with those photos, dear. You look tired. I smiled directly at the hidden camera. Don't worry, I texted back. I'm just getting started. Margaret wanted to watch me. Fine. She was about to see the truth about herself. The next morning, I put our plan into action. Emily had set up a system to track when the cameras were being accessed. Now I could see exactly when Margaret was watching, and she was watching a lot. As I made breakfast, I made sure to stand in view of the kitchen camera. I called my sister, speaking loud enough for the microphone to catch every word. You won't believe what I found, I said. Remember those strange things I told you about? Doors unlocking on their own, objects moving. Well, I think someone's been in our house. I paused, watching the small red light on the camera flicker. Within minutes, my phone buzzed. Margaret, is everything all right? Do you need me to come over? I smirked. No thanks, I'm handling it. Throughout the day, I kept the act going. I made loud phone calls about home security systems. I searched signs of stalking on my laptop, making sure the camera had a clear view. Each time, Margaret's texts became more frantic. At noon, Emily arrived in her police uniform. This wasn't part of the original plan, but it was perfect. We sat in the kitchen, right in front of the camera. So you think someone's been watching you? Emily asked, taking out a notepad. Yes, I said. Strange things have been happening for months. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but now. I listed everything Margaret had done, the surprise visits, the rumors, and now the hidden cameras. Emily nodded, keeping her tone serious. These are serious crimes: breaking and entering, stalking, invasion of privacy. We'll need to investigate. My phone buzzed again. Margaret was calling this time. I ignored it. The thing is, I continued, staring at the camera, I think I know exactly who it is. The camera light flickered. She was watching. After Emily left, I walked through the house, pretending to search for more cameras. My phone rang nonstop, Margaret, then David. I finally answered. Anna, Mom's freaking out, David said. She says you're accusing her of something. Did she tell you she's been in our house? I asked. Or how she always seems to know exactly what we're doing. Silence. Then, what are you saying? I'm saying, I said, looking into the camera, that maybe your mother's concern isn't as innocent as you think. An hour later, Margaret's car screeched into the driveway. She stormed in, using her own key. What do you think you're doing? She snapped. Calling the police? Turning David against me? I stayed calm. I don't know what you mean, Margaret. I was just reporting suspicious activity. Why does that bother you? She hesitated. I'm worried about you. You're imagining things. Am I? I asked. Am I imagining the cameras? Her face went pale. What cameras? I pulled out my phone, showing her the live feeds. These cameras. The ones that have been streaming to your phone for the past 3 weeks. Margaret opened her mouth, but no words came out. Save it, I said. The police already have the proof. Every log, every recording. The only question is, what happens next? She sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. I was just trying to protect him, she whispered. No, I said firmly. This stops now. Either you tell David everything or I will. Right on cue, we heard David's car pull in. Margaret's face crumbled as she realized it was over. David looked between us, confusion etched on his face. What's going on? Mom, why are you crying? Before Margaret could spin another lie, I held up my phone, showing him the live camera feeds. Your mother installed hidden cameras throughout our house, I said quietly. She's been watching us for weeks. The silence that followed was deafening. David stared at the screen, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to horror. Mom, his voice cracked. Tell me this isn't true. Margaret started sobbing, but these weren't her usual manipulative tears. I was trying to protect you. She's not who you think she is. No, David said, his voice hardening. She's exactly who I think she is. You're the one who's not who I thought. He turned to me. How long have you known? Emily found them yesterday, I replied. We documented everything, when they were installed, every time they were accessed, every recording made. David walked to the nearest camera, reaching up to take it down. His hands were shaking. Where else? I pointed out each location, watching as he methodically removed them. Margaret remained on the couch, her protest growing weaker with each camera discovered. Keys, David said suddenly, turning to his mother. Give me your house keys. Now. David, please, Margaret pleaded. I did this for you. No, he cut her off. You did this for yourself. You did this because you can't stand not controlling every aspect of my life. Give me the keys. As Margaret fumbled in her purse, I saw something shift in David's eyes. Years of making excuses for his mother's behavior were crumbling in the face of undeniable evidence. I want you to leave, he said quietly. Don't call, don't text, don't come by. Not until you get professional help. Margaret stood up, clutching her purse. You're choosing her over your own mother? I'm choosing to have a healthy marriage without your interference, David replied. I'm choosing to set boundaries that should have been set years ago. After Margaret left, David and I sat in our living room, the dismantled cameras scattered on the coffee table. I'm so sorry, he whispered. All those times you said something felt off, that things had moved. I should have listened. I took his hand. You're listening now. That's what matters. The next few weeks brought significant changes. David started therapy to work through his complicated relationship with his mother. Margaret, faced with the possibility of legal charges, agreed to seek professional help as well. Emily helped us upgrade our home security, this time with cameras we controlled, monitoring only the exterior of the house. We changed our locks, set firm boundaries, and began the process of rebuilding trust. 3 months later, we received a letter from Margaret's therapist. She had been diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder and was making progress in treatment. The letter included a handwritten note from Margaret, a genuine apology acknowledging her actions and their impact. "Do you want to respond?" David asked me after reading it. I thought carefully. Yes, I decided. But on our terms. We agreed to meet Margaret in a public place, with clear boundaries established. When she arrived at the cafe, she looked different, humbled, more self-aware. "I've been learning about respect," she said quietly. "About privacy and trust and letting go. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm working to be better." It wasn't a perfect ending. Real life rarely has those. But it was a beginning. Margaret learned that her attempts to control us had nearly cost her everything. David learned to stand firm in protecting our marriage, and I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's holding up a mirror and letting someone see the truth about themselves. Our home became truly ours again, free from unwanted surveillance and uninvited intrusion. The spaces that had felt violated were reclaimed, filled now with genuine laughter and honest conversations. Last week, Margaret sent another letter. Inside was a certificate showing she'd completed her therapy program, along with a simple note. "Thank you for giving me the wake-up call I needed. Some lessons are hard to learn, but they're worth learning." David pinned the note to our fridge, not as a reminder of what happened, but as a symbol of how far we've all come. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who need help themselves. The cameras meant to expose my flaws ended up revealing something much more important, the truth that set us all free. Now, when I walk through our house, I don't look for hidden cameras or question if I'm being watched. Instead, I see a home that's stronger for having weathered the storm, a marriage that stood firm in the face of interference, and a family that's learning, slowly but surely, what real love and trust look like. "Get out. I'll call the police if you don't leave," James yelled, his face red with anger. He stood in our living room, holding a young woman close. I stayed seated in my chair, calmly sipping my tea. "Go ahead," I said, setting my cup down. "I'm sure the police would love to see what I have. My name is Sarah Mitchell. After 15 years of marriage, my husband was kicking me out for his new girlfriend. But what he didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for 5 years. You heard him," the young woman Lisa added. She clutched a fancy purse but smelled of cheap perfume. "This is his house. You have no right to be here." I smiled. James always liked women who were easy to control, just like he once controlled me. "Actually," I said, standing up, "let's talk about who really owns this house, James." His face turned pale. He knew that tone. It meant I had the upper hand. "There's nothing to talk about," he snapped, but I noticed he let go of Lisa's waist. "The house is in my name. You signed everything away when we married, remember?" Oh, I remembered. He tricked me into signing papers, telling me they were just a formality. I was young and in love. I trusted him. But 5 years ago, I found a receipt, dinner for 2, on a night he said he was working. That's when I started watching him closely. I walked to the bookshelf, pulled out a thick book, and opened it. Inside, I had hidden a USB drive and some papers. "Funny thing about documents," I said, laying them on the coffee table. "They leave trails. Digital, paper, all kinds." James stepped forward, his confidence fading. "What are you talking about?" "Bank records," I said, pointing at the papers. "You've been moving our money into secret accounts, buying properties under fake names." I glanced at Lisa. "Including the apartment you live in." Lisa's eyes widened. "James, what is she saying?" James didn't answer. He just stared at the papers, realizing he was caught. "You spied on me," he growled. "I protected myself," I corrected. "Did you think I wouldn't notice? The late nights, the secret phones, the fake business trips." I held up another document, "And the fake property records." "What fake records?" Lisa whispered. "The ones claiming James owns this house alone," I said. "But the real papers say otherwise. Would you like to see them?" James lunged to grab the documents, but I stepped back. Careful, I warned. I have copies. Everything is safe with my lawyer. If you try anything, it won't end well for you. You're bluffing, he muttered, but his voice shook. I played a recording on my phone, his voice, loud and clear, talking about hiding money from me. Lisa gasped. 5 years of evidence, James, I said. Would you like to hear the part where you say Lisa is just a tool to avoid losing money in our divorce? Lisa clutched her purse, stepping away from him. What? James was silent, his face twisted with anger and fear. I could see him struggling to figure out what to do next. So, I said, gathering my papers, should we settle this now, or would you prefer to do it with the police present? The room fell silent. Lisa realized she wasn't part of a love story. She was part of a scam. You planned this? James whispered. Yes, I said with a smile. I learned from the best, you. The difference? I took better notes. James sank onto the couch, all his confidence gone. Lisa stood near the door, nervously playing with her purse strap. I don't understand, she said quietly. James told me you were just staying here for now, that you had no legal rights. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. James likes to change the truth to fit his story, I said, keeping my voice calm. He did the same thing to me 15 years ago when we met. He seemed confident, successful. I trusted him. I looked her in the eye. Sound familiar? She blushed and took a step back. This is all lies. James shouted suddenly, but his voice wasn't strong. You made all of this up because you're jealous. No one will believe you. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my files. Do you want to hear the recording of your call with your lawyer last month? The one where you discussed transferring property without my knowledge? Or maybe the one with your banker about hiding money? James turned pale. He recorded me. I smiled. I didn't have to. Phones can do a lot. Record, track, store information. And when someone is careless with passwords, it makes things very easy. Lisa gasped. The retirement account you promised me doesn't exist, I said before James could lie again. At least not in the way he told you. That money was taken from our joint accounts 3 months ago. But it's been frozen now, along with some other suspicious transfers. James jumped up, pointing at me. You had no right. That was private. I had every right, I said. Joint accounts, joint assets, joint property. The law is clear on that. I held up another paper. Your lawyer even explained it to you in this recorded conversation. You should have listened. Lisa had heard enough. She grabbed her coat from the chair where she had confidently tossed it earlier. I can't. I need to go, she mumbled. Lisa, wait. James called, but she was already walking to the door. Don't contact me again, she said firmly. I don't want any part of this. The door slammed behind her, leaving James and me alone in silence. The home we built together, the one he tried to take from me, suddenly felt too small for both of us. What do you want? He finally asked, his voice tired. What I always wanted, I said. A fair division of what we built together. Nothing more, nothing less. He let out a bitter laugh. You've ruined everything. No, James, you did that yourself. I just made sure I wouldn't be your victim. I walked to the kitchen and came back with a folder I had prepared months ago. Inside were divorce papers, property division agreements, and a full record of our shared assets. Your lawyer already has copies of everything, I said, placing the folder on a coffee table. You have 2 choices. We can settle this fairly, or we can let the courts decide after they review all the evidence I've collected. Your choice. James picked up the folder, his hands shaking. How long have you been planning this? Long enough to know every excuse you'll make, every trick you'll try, I said. I learned from watching you. Every scheme, every lie. I took notes. He flipped through the papers, his jaw clenching as he realized how trapped he was. You've been playing me this whole time, he muttered. No, I've been protecting myself, I corrected him. There's a difference. I gathered my documents and headed upstairs to the guest room. The room I had moved into a year ago, though James never questioned why. Behind me, I heard him mumbling to himself, still trying to find a way out of the mess he had created. I closed the door and let out a shaky breath. 5 years of planning, watching, pretending. It had all led to this. This wasn't just about money or property. It was about every woman who had trusted him, every person he had lied to. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't reply. She wasn't the first woman he fooled, and if I hadn't been prepared, she wouldn't have been the last. But tomorrow would start a new chapter, one where James finally faced the consequences of his choices, and I took back what was mine. The next evening came quickly. I sat in my lawyer's office, watching James shift uncomfortably in his chair. His lawyer looked defeated, knowing they had no way to fight the overwhelming evidence I had gathered. All accounts will be split equally, my lawyer, Amanda, said firmly. The house will be sold and the money divided. The vacation home in Lake Tahoe will go to Sarah as compensation for the funds James transferred to shell companies. James said nothing. He just signed each page, his arrogance gone. His plan had completely fallen apart, and now he was left with exactly what he had tried to keep from me, half of everything. One last thing, Amanda added, sliding another paper forward. The apartment where Lisa Anderson is living will also be sold. The money will go back to the marital assets. James's head snapped up. You can't. We can, Amanda interrupted. The apartment was bought with shared money. It's all documented. Unless you want to argue this in court. His hand trembled as he signed. As we left the office, James grabbed my arm. How did you do it? He asked in a low voice. I never even suspected. I gently pulled away. You taught me well, James. You just never thought I'd use those lessons against you. 3 months later, I stood in my new mountain home, bought with my share of the assets. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, lighting up boxes I still needed to unpack. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. The apartment's sold. I found my own place. Thank you for the wake-up call. I smiled. James had planned to use her, but instead, she found the strength to start over. Another text popped up, this one from James's sister, Emma. You did what I've wanted to do for years. He's finally facing the consequences. Mom and Dad are embarrassed by everything he did. Maybe he'll learn. I doubted it, but that wasn't my problem anymore. My only focus now was on the future I had built for myself. The doorbell rang. Amanda, with the final property transfer documents. It's all done, she said, handing them to me. James didn't fight any of it. He knew he had no choice. Not smart, I said. Just trapped. There's a difference. We sat outside, sipping wine on my new deck, overlooking the lake. You know, Amanda said, in all my years as a lawyer, I've never seen someone handle a divorce this perfectly. Most people react with anger. They make mistakes. I thought back to those 5 years, watching, waiting, collecting proof. Patience is more powerful than revenge, I said. James never understood that. Later that night, as I unpacked, I found an old wedding photo of us. We looked so happy back then, unaware of what was coming. But I felt no anger now, only gratitude for the lessons I had learned. My phone buzzed. A message from James. I underestimated you. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I had my freedom, my fair share, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had outsmarted the man who thought he could leave me with nothing. I looked out at the sunset over the lake and raised my wine glass. Here's to patience, to careful planning, and to justice served cold. Some might call it revenge, but I called it taking back what was mine. James had taught me that, just not in the way he intended. And in the end, that was his greatest gift to me. I stood in silence, watching my husband of 8 years pack his expensive shirts into the fancy leather suitcase I had given him for our 5th anniversary. He moved quickly, like he couldn't wait to leave me behind. His confidence made my stomach turn. You'll never prove we shared anything, Marcus said with a smirk, barely looking at me as he packed. Victoria and I planned this perfectly. No marriage papers, everything in my name, you get nothing. I leaned against the doorframe, keeping my face calm even though I was boiling inside. Marcus, now 35, thought he was too good for me. He believed he deserved someone younger. Victoria, his 23-year-old personal trainer, had convinced him he was missing out. Nothing to say. He taunted, folding another shirt. That's new. Usually, you never stop talking about our life together and all that nonsense. I watched him pack the cufflinks I had saved for months to buy. I was just wondering if Victoria knows about the money you borrowed from my savings last year. His hands hesitated for a second. That was a gift. You can't prove otherwise. Interesting, I said quietly, thinking about the hidden camera I had installed in our home office months ago after finding suspicious messages on his phone. The signs were there: late nights at the gym, new clothes, changed passwords. But I wasn't the clueless wife he thought I was. My job in digital security taught me to always be prepared. "You know your problem, Anna," Marcus said, zipping up his suitcase. "You know her take risks. Victoria understands passion, adventure." I almost laughed. If only he knew about the cameras, the recordings, and the proof I had gathered about our shared assets. "You're right, Marcus. I do like to plan things carefully." He grabbed his suitcase and headed for the stairs. "I've already moved all the money. Good luck proving anything was ever yours. My lawyer handled everything." I followed him downstairs, staying calm. "Your lawyer? You mean Jeffrey? The one who helped you set up that offshore account last month?" He stopped, turning slowly. "How do you know about that?" I picked up the TV remote. "Want to watch something interesting before you go? It'll be educational." "I don't have time for your games," he snapped, but I heard the nervousness in his voice. "This won't take long," I said, pressing play. His voice filled the room from the hidden camera recording. "I need all traces of joint ownership erased. Anna can't know. Once the transfers are done, I'll move in with Victoria, and there won't be any proof of where the money came from." "Turn that off," Marcus demanded, his confidence fading. "But there's more," I said, my voice steady. "Like your talk with Victoria about using my inheritance for her beach house. Or maybe you'd rather watch yourself forging my signature." His suitcase fell to the floor. You were spying on me?" "Spying? No, just protecting myself," I said. "Something you taught me with all your planning." He ran a hand through his hair, panic in his eyes. "You can't use those recordings. It's illegal." I smiled, remembering my talk with my own lawyer. "In our state, I can record anything in my home if I suspect fraud." His voice was weak. "What do you want?" "Right now, I want you to leave. Go to Victoria, start your exciting new life. But know this, I have copies of everything. My lawyer has them too." "You're bluffing," he whispered, but I could hear the fear in his voice. I turned off the TV and walked toward the kitchen. "Your flight to Cancun leaves in 2 hours, right? You better hurry. Victoria hates waiting, almost as much as she hates broke men." His footsteps faltered behind me. I smiled. Marcus thought he had the perfect escape plan, but he was about to learn that the quiet ones, the careful planners, are the ones to watch out for. "This isn't over," he called, trying to sound tough. "You're right," I whispered as the front door slammed shut. "It's just beginning." 3 days after Marcus left, I knew my plan was working. I was watching security footage in my home office when my phone buzzed with his name. "The bank froze my accounts," he snapped. "What did you do?" I sipped my coffee, enjoying the expensive blend he used to complain about. "I didn't do anything, Marcus, but the bank's fraud department seems very interested in those fake documents you submitted." "You vindictive." "Careful," I cut him off. "Everything's still being recorded. Do you want to add threats to the evidence?" Silence. I imagined him standing in Victoria's fancy apartment, probably wearing the silk robe he bought last month with our joint credit card. His tone softened, slipping into his usual salesman voice. "We can work this out. I was emotional, made mistakes. Let's talk." Like when you forgot to mention transferring my inheritance, or when you emptied our retirement savings." A woman's voice interrupted in the background, Victoria, demanding to know what was happening. Perfect. Time to play my next move. "By the way, did you tell Victoria about the second mortgage on her condo? The one you took out to pay your gambling debts?" Silence, then muffled arguing. I ended the call and turned back to my laptop. My lawyer's email waited for my response. The evidence was overwhelming. Fake signatures, stolen money, secret accounts. Marcus had been so focused on hiding our marriage that he left behind proof of his crimes. That evening, my doorbell rang. Victoria stood there, mascara smudged, clutching her designer handbag like a lifeline. "Is it true?" she asked. "About the mortgage?" I stepped aside. "Want to see the paperwork?" She followed me to the kitchen, her heels clicking on the expensive floors Marcus insisted we import from Italy. I laid out the documents. "He told me you were just his roommate," she whispered, staring at our marriage certificate, "that this house was his investment property. He told me he was working late at the gym, I replied, watching her face crumble as she read through the mortgage papers. He said the condo was a gift, she mumbled. That he was rich from investments. Her eyes widened. But this says he borrowed against it before even giving me the deed. I nodded and slid another document toward her. He bought it with money from my inheritance. Here's the proof. He forged my signature to access it. Victoria sank into a chair, looking lost. I'm going to lose everything, aren't I? Not necessarily, I said, pulling out another folder. I have a proposition for you. Her eyes narrowed. Why would you help me? Because Marcus needs to learn he can't treat people like this, I said. And you're in a unique position to help me make that happen. 20 minutes later, Victoria left with copies of the documents and a new understanding. She had been played, just like me. But together, we could make sure Marcus faced the consequences. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Marcus was panicking. Victoria had moved out and taken evidence of his fraud with her. His perfect plan was falling apart. You turned her against me, he yelled when I finally answered. No, Marcus, your lies did that. I paused, then added, by the way, the police have questions about those fake documents. Detective Rivera will be calling you soon. You can't prove anything. But his voice shook. Really? The hidden cameras caught everything. You practicing my signature, talking to your broker about hiding transfers. The bank's fraud team is very interested in those offshore accounts. A long silence. Then, in a whisper, I'll lose my license. As a financial advisor, his career depended on his reputation. You should have thought of that before stealing my money. A notification popped up on my laptop, an email from Detective Rivera confirming our meeting. Everything was falling into place. What do you want? Marcus asked, his arrogance finally replaced by desperation. Name your price. I looked around my house now, the expensive artwork, the luxury car, the things he insisted we needed. None of it had made us happy. I want you to understand something, Marcus, I said. You didn't just try to steal my money. You tried to take my security, my future. But you forgot one thing. I'm not just your wife. I'm a woman who protects people from scams like yours for a living. He started to speak, but I kept going. The evidence is already with the authorities. Your accounts will stay frozen during the investigation. And as for Victoria's condo, well, she's very eager to cooperate. Something shattered on his end of the line, followed by angry cursing. Oh, and Marcus, I added. Your mother called. You know that retirement account you claimed was yours? She helped set it up as a joint account after our wedding. She's already given a detailed statement to investigators. The call ended with his frustrated scream. I leaned back in my chair, a small smile forming. Marcus thought he had the perfect escape plan. But he forgot the most important rule: never underestimate me. 2 weeks after Marcus's life started falling apart, I sat in my living room across from Detective Rivera. He was reviewing the last pieces of evidence on my laptop. Mrs. Walker, he said, looking up, these recordings are incredible. Your husband never suspected anything. I shook my head and poured us both some coffee. Marcus always underestimated me. He thought being a cybersecurity specialist just meant fixing computers. The detective chuckled as he took his cup. Big mistake. The district attorney is very interested in this case. Financial fraud, forgery, wire transfer fraud. He's facing serious charges. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. He's here at my place, begging for money. Should I start recording like we planned? I smiled and showed the detective. He nodded. Your teamwork with Ms. Carter has been invaluable. Ready to finish this? I sent Victoria a quick yes and sat back to wait. Within an hour, we had Marcus on video pressuring Victoria for money and admitting to his crimes. The next morning, I was making breakfast when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Marcus standing there. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes, nothing like his usual polished self. Anna, please, he said, his voice rough. I've lost everything. The firm suspended me. My accounts are frozen. Even my credit cards don't work. I looked at him calmly. Sounds like consequences. I'll do anything, he begged. I'll sign whatever you want. Just make this go away. Come in, I said, stepping aside. There's something you should see. I led him to the living room. Our wedding photos still hung on the wall. The one with the hidden camera behind it that had recorded so many of his lies. Remember what you told Victoria in this room last month? I asked, picking up my tablet. Anna's too stupid to understand finance. She'll never figure out where the money went. His face turned pale as I played the recording. You didn't just hide cameras, he whispered. You planned this. No, Marcus, you planned this. I just made sure there was proof. I set the tablet down. Every fake signature, every call about hiding money, every sneaky meeting with your lawyer, it's all recorded. He dropped onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. What happens now? Now, you deal with the consequences of your choices. The DA will offer you a plea deal soon. I walked to the door and held it open. I suggest you get a good lawyer. He stood up, desperation in his voice. But what about us? 8 years of marriage. Should have meant something, I said. But you chose lies, Victoria, and a failed escape plan instead. After he left, I opened my laptop. An email from Victoria waited. Meeting with the prosecutor tomorrow. Thank you for helping me see the truth. I leaned back, thinking about how much had changed in just a month. I had always been strong, but now I had something more. Confidence, peace, and the satisfaction of knowing I had outsmarted the man who thought he could ruin me. A week later, my lawyer called. Marcus took the plea deal. No jail time, but he has to pay back everything he stole. He's also lost his financial advisor's license and has a fraud charge on his record. And the divorce? I asked. You keep the house. Your inheritance is restored. He has to pay back every cent from the joint accounts. That night, I invited Victoria, Detective Rivera, and my lawyer over for dinner. We raised our glasses. To justice, Victoria said, looking wiser than before. To karma, added Detective Rivera. To hidden cameras, my lawyer joked. To new beginnings, I said, feeling lighter than I had in years. Later, when I was finally alone in my house, I took down the wedding photo and removed the hidden camera. Marcus had thought he was making a perfect escape. He never realized that sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. My phone buzzed with one last message from Marcus. I'm sorry. I never deserved you. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and started writing a book. Digital Defense. A Woman's Guide to Protecting Herself in the Modern Age. Marcus had tried to leave me with nothing. But instead he gave me something priceless, the knowledge that I was stronger and smarter than even I had realized. I first realized something was wrong when our family doctor, Dr. Martin, started visiting unexpectedly. He had been our doctor for years, but suddenly he was coming by every few days, always when my husband, Marcus, was at work. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, would greet him with fake concern. Amanda, dear, Dr. Martin is just here to check on you, she would say sweetly. We're also worried about your episodes. Episodes. That's what they called it whenever I questioned Marcus's late nights, expensive gifts, or the lipstick stains on his shirts. My name is Sarah Mitchell. At 35, I discovered that my husband was trying to have me declared mentally unstable, not because I was sick, but because he wanted me out of the way. It all started 3 months ago when I asked Marcus about a hotel charge on our credit card. Instead of denying it, he called his mother. The next day, Eleanor moved in, saying, just until you're feeling better. Soon my sister-in-law, Kate, started visiting daily, acting worried and spreading rumors about my behavior. I might have believed them if I hadn't overheard a conversation in the garden. Kate was saying, the resort is booked for June. Jessica is so excited about the wedding. We just need to take care of Amanda before then. Jessica, Marcus's young assistant, the one who sent him messages late at night. Eleanor replied, Dr. Martin is waiting for the right moment. One more outburst, and he'll have enough to sign the papers. Marcus will get guardianship, and by the time Amanda can fight back, it'll be too late. I froze, realizing their plan. Marcus wanted me declared mentally ill so he could marry Jessica without a messy divorce. Eleanor had never liked me. She thought I was too old and too independent. After that, I noticed everything. The bitter taste in my food, probably from the vitamins Eleanor gave me, the way they tracked my every move, how Marcus would start fights and secretly record me. But I wasn't going to let them win. As a pharmaceutical sales representative, I knew about medications. I stopped taking their vitamins and pretended not to notice their tricks. I recorded their conversations, set up hidden cameras, and found a real psychiatrist, Dr. Chen, to back me up. Then, I found wedding invitation samples in Kate's purse, dated June 15th. They were running out of patience. One day, Eleanor called out, "Amanda, Dr. Martin is here again." I looked in the mirror, making sure I appeared calm and collected. It was time to let them think their plan was working. In the living room, Eleanor, Kate, and Dr. Martin sat waiting. Eleanor held the tissue, pretending to be sad. "Amanda, please sit down," Dr. Martin said. I did, keeping my hands folded in my lap. Through the window, I saw Marcus pulling into the driveway, right on time. Eleanor sighed. "We're doing this because we love you. We've noticed such alarming changes in your behavior." Kate added, "The paranoia, the mood swings, the obsessive cleaning." Dr. Martin nodded, ready to write something down. "It might be best if you spent some time in a facility." I smiled. For the first time, Eleanor looked nervous. They expected me to cry, to argue, to prove their point. Instead, I stayed calm. "I see," I said. "And when were you planning to tell me about the wedding?" The room fell silent. Marcus stiffened. "What wedding?" I turned to Kate. "The invitations in your purse are beautiful. Blushed pink suits Jessica, don't you think?" Eleanor's grip on my hand tightened. "Dr. Martin, you see, she's going through Kate's things. This paranoia is getting worse." I pulled my hand away. "Actually, Dr. Martin, I think you should see what I have to show you." They didn't know it yet, but their plan was about to fall apart. I had proof, the fake medical records, the drugs, the secret wedding plans. Most importantly, I had witnesses. They thought I was their victim. They were wrong. Before we continue, I said, taking out my phone, we should wait for one more person. Right on cue, the doorbell rang. Eleanor stiffened, her fake concern replaced by real worry. Before anyone could react, I stood up. "I'll get it," I said, smiling. "She's my guest." At the door stood Dr. Lisa Barrett, a respected forensic psychiatrist. For the past month, she had been evaluating me, gathering proof that I was perfectly sane. "Dr. Martin," she said coolly as she stepped inside, "I'm surprised to see you here, considering the ethics complaint I filed against you this morning." Dr. Martin paled. He knew what that meant. His involvement in my family's scheme could cost him his medical license. Marcus stepped forward. "What is this, Amanda?" I sat down, feeling calmer than I had in months. "Let's talk about the medications Eleanor's been mixing into my food." "That's ridiculous," Eleanor snapped, but her hands trembled as she clutched her tissue. Dr. Barrett set down her briefcase. "Actually, lab tests confirm that food from this house contained substances known to cause anxiety and confusion. Care to explain, Dr. Martin?" Kate jumped up, her face red. "See, this is what we mean. She's acting paranoid, collecting food samples." "We also have this," I said, holding up my tablet. I pressed play. Eleanor's voice filled the room. "Once she's committed, Marcus can file for emergency custody. The lawyers say he'll be able to handle all the property matters without her consent." Marcus lunged for the tablet, but I didn't flinch. "That's just a copy. The originals are already with the authorities, along with the wedding invitations and your prenuptial agreement with Jessica." The room erupted into chaos. Eleanor sobbed, real tears this time. Kate shouted about privacy. Dr. Martin looked ready to disappear. Marcus just stared at me. "How long have you known?" "About Jessica?" "From the start. About your plan to have me committed." "Long enough to build an airtight case." I turned to Dr. Barrett. "Would you say I seem mentally unstable?" "Not at all," she replied. "In fact, you've remained remarkably clear-headed, despite their efforts to manipulate you." Eleanor made one last attempt. "She's tricked you. She's hiding her symptoms." "You mean the ones you tried to create with unprescribed drugs?" I asked. "Our security cameras caught you tampering with my food. The police are very interested in that footage." The word police hit them like a slap. Marcus collapsed into a chair, pale. "The police are involved. Falsely committing someone is a serious crime," Dr. Barrett said, "as is drugging them and trying to take control of their assets." I stood smoothing my slacks. "Divorce papers will be delivered tomorrow, and I've filed a restraining order against all of you." I turned to Eleanor. "You should start packing. I want you out of my house within the hour." Eleanor scoffed. "This house belongs to the family." "Check the deed," I said. "Marcus signed it over to me last year to avoid tax issues." One of the few times his shady accounting worked in my favor. Kate opened her mouth, but Marcus stopped her. He knew I was right. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "I want you to leave," I said simply. "The police will be here soon, and I'm sure you'll want to call your lawyers first." They fled. Eleanor and Kate nearly tripped over each other. Dr. Martin mumbled about another appointment and rushed out. Marcus lingered at the door. "I never thought you'd figure it out," he admitted. "You always seemed so trusting, naive." I finished. "That worked in my favor. While you were busy underestimating me, I was documenting everything." After they left, Dr. Barrett helped me gather the last bits of evidence, more drugs hidden in the kitchen, notebooks full of their fake reports about me. "Are you sure you want to press charges?" she asked. "You could just divorce him and move on." I thought about the fear they tried to instill in me, the way they tried to make me doubt my own mind. "They need to face consequences," I said, "not just for me, but so they never do this to anyone else." As I walked Dr. Barrett out, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked stronger. They had tried to break me, but instead, they had only proven how capable I really was. For the first time in months, the house was quiet, a peaceful quiet, the kind that comes from taking back control of your own story. 3 months after that confrontation, I sat in my lawyer's office reviewing the final divorce settlement. Marcus had tried to fight it at first, but the evidence was overwhelming. Between the recordings, the documented attempts to drug me, and Dr. Martin's eventual confession, he had no choice but to agree to my terms. "Everything's been transferred to your name," my lawyer confirmed, sliding the papers across her desk. "The house, your joint investments, and half of all marital assets. Plus, the restraining orders against Marcus, Eleanor, and Kate remain in effect." I signed where indicated, each signature feeling like another step toward freedom. What happened with Dr. Martin's medical license? Suspended pending further investigation. The medical board was particularly interested in Eleanor's admission that she'd been getting prescription medications from him to spike your food. The criminal charges had shocked our social circle. Eleanor's country club friends suddenly couldn't remember her name. Kate's wedding planning business lost most of its clients. Apparently, people were hesitant to trust someone who'd helped plot a false psychiatric commitment. As for Jessica, Marcus's young assistant turned would-be bride, she'd abandoned him the moment she realized there would be no luxury lifestyle waiting for her. Last I heard, she'd taken a job in another state, desperate to escape the scandal. I left my lawyer's office and drove to my favorite cafe, where my friend Beth was waiting. She'd been my rock throughout this ordeal, helping me gather evidence and keeping me sane when I doubted myself. "So it's really over," she said as I sat down. "How does it feel?" I thought about it as I stirred my coffee. Liberating, but also sad, in a way. Not because I miss them, but because I can't believe they thought so little of me that they believed their plan would work. "Their biggest mistake was underestimating you," Beth said firmly. "They saw what they wanted to see, the quiet, accommodating wife who would never fight back." She was right. For years, I played that role, smoothing over conflicts and keeping the peace. Even when I first suspected Marcus's affair, I tried to fix things quietly. That's what they counted on, my tendency to avoid confrontation. "Did you hear about Eleanor?" Beth asked, lowering her voice. "She tried to join the hospital board last week. They turned her down flat. Apparently, conspiring to have someone falsely committed doesn't look good on a resume." I couldn't help but laugh. Eleanor had always been so proud of her social standing, her committee memberships, her position in society. Now she was experiencing what it felt like to be an outsider. Marcus wasn't faring much better. His law firm had asked him to take an indefinite leave of absence once the story broke. No one wanted a lawyer who had conspired to have his wife committed for convenience. "The house feels different now," I told Beth. "Peaceful. I repainted everything, rearranged the furniture. It finally feels like mine. And the new security system probably helps," she added with a grin. I smiled, thinking of the state-of-the-art cameras and alarms I had installed. Not because I was afraid, but because I'd learned the value of protecting what was mine. That evening, I walked through my house, appreciating the quiet. The guest room where Eleanor had stayed was now my home office. Kate's favorite snooping spot in the garden had been replanted with roses. Every space they had tainted had been reclaimed and renewed. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Barrett. "Thought you'd want to know. The medical board's investigation is expanding. Looks like you weren't Dr. Martin's first convenient diagnosis. I wasn't surprised. People like them rarely tried something like this just once. But I had stopped their pattern, not just for myself, but for anyone else they might have targeted. As I got ready for bed, I caught myself smiling at my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the one they had tried to paint as unstable. She was strong, confident, and utterly sane, perhaps the sanest person in that whole situation. A year ago, I would have been devastated by their betrayal, but now I realized it had given me something valuable. The knowledge that I was stronger than anyone, including myself, had believed. I picked up my journal, a real one this time, not the fake symptom diary they had wanted me to keep, and wrote one final entry about the experience. They thought they could break me by making me doubt my own mind. Instead, they showed me exactly how strong it is. Sometimes the people who try to tear you down end up revealing just how unbreakable you truly are. The doorbell rang, pulling me from my thoughts. Through the security camera, I saw Beth holding up takeout bags and wine. A regular girls' night, something Eleanor had always disapproved of. I smiled and went to let her in. Life wasn't just back to normal, it was better than normal. I was free, strong, and surrounded by people who actually cared about me. Sometimes losing a toxic family is the healthiest thing that can happen to you. And the best revenge, living well, knowing they have to live with the consequences of their own actions. The dinner table was silent as my husband, Marcus, stood up with a champagne glass in hand. His mother smiled excitedly, and his sister, Amanda, could barely sit still. I sat quietly, my fork hovering over my untouched salmon, already knowing what was coming. "I have an announcement," Marcus said proudly. "Jessica and I are getting married next month." His mother, Martha, clapped with joy, and Amanda squealed. Neither of them looked at me. I wasn't surprised. They had been ignoring me for months. But Marcus, his father, Henry, said, looking confused, "What about Sarah? You're already married." Marcus grinned, and my stomach tightened. Actually, Sarah and I were never legally married. It was just a ceremony, nothing official. "Right, honey?" Everyone turned to look at me, waiting for tears, anger, or a scene. Instead, I calmly set down my fork and took out my phone. "Is that what you think, Marcus? My name is Sarah Chin, and at 34, I was watching my husband of 8 years try to erase our marriage with a lie. What he didn't know, his perfect plan had a big problem. Me. I had known about Jessica for months. The late nights, secret texts, sudden effort in his appearance. It was obvious. But it was his mother, Martha, who confirmed my suspicions 3 months ago. I overheard her whispering on the phone in her garden. "Yes, Jessica dear, he's handling it. Once we prove there's no legal marriage, you two can have your wedding. Sarah won't get a thing." That day, something in me changed. The pain turned into determination. I spent the next 3 months gathering proof, setting a trap, and waiting for this moment. Marcus smirked. "What's on your phone, Sarah? Pictures from our wedding? Those don't mean anything legally." Martha chimed in with fake sympathy. "Dear, we know this is hard, but without proper registration, that ceremony was just a party." I met her gaze, remembering all the times she had looked down on me. My career, my background, my choice to wait on having kids. She thought she had won. "Actually," I said, opening my email, "I have something better than wedding photos. Want to see?" Marcus's smile faded. "Sarah, don't make this difficult. Jessica's waiting outside to join us for dessert. We wanted to do this properly, give you time to understand." "Understand what?" I interrupted. "That you plan to marry another woman while still married to me? That you and your mother lied about our marriage? That you secretly moved our assets before making this announcement?" Martha turned pale. Amanda froze, staring at her plate. Henry looked at his wife and son, his confusion turning to realization. "What are you talking about?" Marcus snapped, but I saw fear in his eyes. I turned to Henry, who had always been kind to me, though he rarely stood up to his wife. "Henry, did you know Martha helped Marcus remove my name from your family's summer house deed last month?" Henry's head whipped toward his wife. "Martha?" "She's lying," Martha said quickly, but her hands shook as she grabbed her wine glass. I kept scrolling through my phone. "I have all the documents here, including the original deed where my name was clearly listed. Funny how it disappeared just before this announcement. Marcus slammed his hand on the table, making the plates shake. Enough. Show me proof we're legally married. Right now. I smiled, thinking about the documents safe in my lawyer's office, with copies in multiple places. Oh, I will. But first, shouldn't we invite Jessica in? She should hear this too. Right then, the doorbell rang. Martha jumped up, eager for a distraction. I'll get it. I leaned back in my chair, watching everything unfold. Jessica would walk in, expecting to see a broken wife giving up. Instead, she was about to find out that her future with Marcus was built on nothing but lies. The trap was set. Now it was time to watch it spring. Jessica walked into the dining room confidently, her high heels clicking on the floor. She was everything Martha had always wanted in a daughter-in-law. Young, elegant, from a rich family. The emerald ring on her finger sparkled, and I noticed how Martha smiled proudly. It was a family heirloom she had never offered to me. Sorry I'm late, Jessica said, but her smile faded when she saw my calm expression. You thought I'd be gone by now. I finished for her. Please, sit down. You need to hear this too. Marcus started to argue, but his father, Henry, stopped him. Let her speak. I want to know what's going on in my own family. I pulled up a photo on my phone and held it out. This is from the county clerk's office. 3 months ago, someone tried to check our marriage records. They pretended to be me, but the signature was fake. Martha, would you like to explain? Martha froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. When that didn't work, I continued, someone tried to change the records to show our marriage was never official. The clerk's office found it suspicious and informed me. They also kept copies of everything, including the fingerprints on the forms. Martha, those are yours. Jessica glanced between Marcus and his mother, looking unsure. What is she talking about? Nothing, Marcus snapped. Sarah's just making trouble. We're not legally married. I made sure of that. You made sure? I raised an eyebrow. Like how you made sure to hide the beach house you bought last year. The one you paid for with our shared money but only put under your name. Henry's head shot up. You bought another house? I turned to Jessica. Did he tell you about that house? Or about the secret account he's been moving money into for the past 6 months? Jessica's face went pale. Marcus. Don't listen to her, Martha said quickly. She's just jealous. Marcus told us you're perfect for this family. Young, able to have children, unlike someone who's too focused on her career. It was a typical insult from Martha, but it didn't bother me anymore. Actually, I said, opening another email, let's talk about family. Jessica, did you know Marcus was married before? Before me? Silence filled the room. What? Martha whispered. 10 years ago, in Vegas. It was a quick wedding. He paid her to stay quiet and got it annulled. But the records still exist. Funny how he never told you. Jessica sat down heavily, her perfect future with Marcus falling apart. That's enough, Marcus shouted, his calm mask finally breaking. None of this matters. Our marriage isn't legal, and you can't prove otherwise. I smiled. Actually, about that, Henry, would you like to see the real marriage registration? The one your son filed himself. The one that proves he committed fraud when he bought that house under only his name. I handed Henry my phone. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the documents. Marcus, he said, his voice full of disappointment. What have you done? It's fake, Marcus insisted, but sweat was forming on his forehead. Like how you faked my signature to take my name off the summer house? I said quietly. The forensic report on that was very interesting. My lawyer has copies. Martha shot up from her chair, knocking it over. You investigated us. How dare you? No, Martha. How dare you? How dare you help your son commit fraud? How dare you try to steal from me? The clerk's office already filed a report about your actions. Jessica stood up, pulling off the emerald ring and dropping it on the table. You told me she agreed to step aside, she said to Marcus, her voice shaking. You said everything was taken care of. Jessica, wait. Marcus reached for her, but she stepped back. My father's a judge, she said, tears in her eyes. What do you think he'll say about this? Then she turned and walked out, her heels clicking quickly as she left. A moment later, we heard her car start and speed away. Martha collapsed back into her chair, looking shocked. This isn't how this was supposed to happen. No, I agreed, standing up. You thought I was still the naive woman who married Marcus 8 years ago. The one who ignored your insults, who tried so hard to earn your approval. But people change, Martha. They learn. They prepare. I turned to Marcus, meeting his eyes. The divorce papers will arrive tomorrow. I suggest you read them carefully, especially the part about your forgeries. My lawyer is very thorough. You can't do this, he whispered, defeated. I already have. I picked up my purse and looked at Henry. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. You deserved better than a son who lies and a wife who helps him. As I walked toward the door, I heard Henry push back his chair. Martha, he said sternly, we need to talk. And Marcus, call your lawyer. You're going to need one. I stepped outside into the cool evening air, feeling lighter than I had in months. Behind me, I heard Martha's panicked voice and Marcus's weak excuses, but none of it mattered anymore. I had the truth, the proof, and most importantly, my freedom. And I wasn't finished yet. The weeks after that dinner went exactly as I planned. Marcus got the divorce papers, and each page showed how well I had recorded all his lies. When he realized I knew about his secret offshore account, the look on his face almost made the last 8 years worth it. Martha tried to fix things, of course. One morning, she showed up at my office, looking as elegant as ever, holding a fancy handbag I had once admired. Sarah, dear, she said sweetly, surely we can talk this through as a family. I didn't even look up. Family doesn't steal identities, Martha. The clerk's office was very curious about how you got my personal information to fake those documents. Her face went pale, but she kept going. That was a misunderstanding. I was just trying to help Marcus with the paperwork. The police don't see it that way. I cut in, finally meeting her eyes. Neither does Henry, from what I hear. That one hurt. Henry had moved out the day after our dinner and into their legal beach house. The one Marcus hadn't tried to hide. 2 days later, he filed for divorce. He couldn't forgive Martha for helping Marcus commit fraud. You've ruined this family, she snapped, finally losing her calm. I smiled. No, Martha. You and Marcus did that. I just exposed it. After she left, I got an unexpected call. It was Jessica. I just wanted to thank you, she said softly. My father told me that if I had married Marcus, I could have been part of the fraud. You saved me from a huge mistake. He would have done to you what he did to me, I said. You deserve to know the truth. The divorce went quickly, especially after the court saw the proof of Marcus's fraud. The hidden beach house, the fake signatures, none of it impressed the judge. Martha's attempt to change county records didn't help their case either. One evening, Henry called me. His voice was heavy with regret. I knew Marcus had changed, but I never imagined this. I'm sorry, Sarah. I should have seen it sooner. You're not responsible for their choices, I told him. You did the right thing when you learned the truth. That's what matters. Even Marcus's sister, Amanda, reached out. She found proof that Marcus had secretly taken money from their grandmother's trust fund. The money meant for both of them. Suddenly, her golden boy brother didn't seem so perfect anymore. In the end, the divorce settlement worked out well for me. Marcus's fraud backfired, and I got more than I ever expected. The hidden beach house was sold, and the money helped pay back what he had stolen from me. Martha wasn't so lucky either. The clerk's office pressed charges for identity theft and attempted fraud. Her once glamorous social circle started avoiding her. Even her country club, the place she loved so much, quietly suggested she should resign. 6 months later, I sat in my new apartment, sharing a bottle of wine with my friend Lisa, the one who had helped me gather evidence. I still can't believe Martha thought she could mess with legal records and get away with it. Lisa laughed. What did she think this was, the 1950s? I shook my head, smiling. She never thought I'd fight back. None of them did. That was their mistake. And now? Lisa asked. What's next for you? I walked to the window, looking at the city lights. I'm thinking about starting my own consulting firm. I've certainly learned a lot about uncovering fraud. We laughed, but I was serious. Through this whole mess, I had discovered a strength I never knew I had. Marcus and Martha had tried to erase me from their lives, to write me out of their story. Instead, they helped me write my own. One of strength, preparation, and victory. Marcus, last I heard, was living in a small apartment, his reputation ruined. Jessica had moved away to escape the scandal. And Martha? She was doing community service, her perfect social status crumbling. Henry called me sometimes to check in. He was rebuilding his life, focusing on Amanda and their grandmother. We met for coffee now and then, two people healing from the same betrayal, finding comfort in the truth. As I watched the sunset, I felt completely at peace. Marcus had thought he could erase me, start over like I never existed. Instead, he gave me the push I needed to fight back, not with anger, but with intelligence and preparation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about coming out stronger, wiser, and completely free. I raised my glass to that truth, grateful for everything I had learned and for the future ahead.